Fleet Admiral Zoreth Vex stood on the command bridge of the Eternal Dominion, the largest warship ever built by the Galactic Federation. His 4 eyes watched the tactical display with growing confusion. The human fleet was doing something strange, something that made no sense at all. "Report," he said to his second-in-command, a tall Keithrani officer named Telos. "Admiral, the human ships are not holding formation. They are spreading out in a pattern we have never seen before. Our targeting systems cannot lock onto them properly." Zoreth clicked his mandibles in frustration. The Federation had ruled this sector of space for 3,000 years. They had conquered 47 species. They had never lost a major battle. And now these humans, these newcomers who had only discovered faster-than-light travel 50 years ago, were causing problems. "How many ships do they have?" Zoreth asked. 212, Admiral. We have 1,400. The numbers should have made this battle simple. The Federation fleet was 7 times larger. Their ships were bigger, their weapons more powerful, their shields stronger. By every measure that mattered, the humans should have already surrendered. But they had not. The humans had appeared in this system 3 days ago. They had refused all communication except for one message: leave this system or face the consequences. Zoreth had laughed when he received that message. He had shown it to his officers, and they had laughed too. How could 200 small ships threaten the might of the Galactic Federation? Now, watching the tactical display, Zoreth was not laughing anymore. "They are moving again," Telos said. "The human ships are. Admiral, I do not understand what they are doing." Zoreth looked at the display. The human fleet had split into dozens of small groups. Each group was moving in a different direction. Some were going toward the Federation fleet. Some were going away. Some were moving in circles. It looked like chaos. It looked like the humans had no plan at all. But Zoreth had been an officer for 80 years. He had fought in 23 wars, and he knew that what looked like chaos was sometimes something else entirely. "They are trying to confuse us," he said slowly. "They want us to spread our forces to chase them." "Should we pursue, Admiral?" Zoreth thought about it. The standard Federation tactic was to form a tight formation and advance together. Their combined firepower could destroy anything. Their combined shields could block any attack. It was the strategy that had won them an empire. But if he kept his fleet together, the human ships could stay out of range forever. They could hit and run, picking off ships at the edges of his formation. It could take weeks to destroy them all. "Send the 3rd and 4th attack groups to intercept the nearest human formations," Zoreth ordered. "Keep the main fleet in position." "Yes, Admiral." The 3rd and 4th attack groups were 200 ships. That should be enough to destroy any of the human formations, which seemed to have only 10 or 20 ships each. Zoreth watched as his ships moved to engage. The Federation vessels were slow but powerful. Their weapons had a longer range than human weapons. Their shields could absorb massive amounts of damage. This should be easy. The first engagement happened 30 minutes later. 50 Federation ships closed in on a group of 15 human vessels. The tactical display showed the distances closing, the targeting systems locking on. And then something strange happened. The human ships did not run. They did not try to escape. Instead, they accelerated directly toward the Federation ships. "What are they doing?" Telos asked. "They are flying into our weapons range." "They are attacking," Zoreth said. He could not believe it. The humans were outnumbered more than 3 to 1. Their ships were smaller and weaker. Why would they attack? The Federation ships opened fire. Beams of energy lanced through space. Missiles streaked toward the human vessels. The first human ship exploded. But the others kept coming. They were fast, faster than Zoreth had expected. They dodged and weaved through the Federation fire. More human ships exploded, but some got through, and when they got close enough, they fired. The human weapons were different from anything Zorath had seen before. They were not beams or missiles. They were small, fast projectiles that moved in unpredictable patterns. They seemed to know where the Federation shields were weakest. They found the gaps in the armor. They hit the vital systems. 3 Federation ships exploded in quick succession, then 4 more, then 5. "Admiral," Tellus shouted, "the humans are destroying our ships." "I can see that," Zorath snapped. "Order the attack groups to fall back." But it was too late. The human ships were among the Federation vessels now, too close for the heavy weapons to target. They darted around like insects, firing constantly. Every shot seemed to hit something important. Engines failed. Weapons went offline. Life support systems shut down. In 15 minutes, the engagement was over. The Federation had lost 32 ships. The humans had lost 8. Zorath stared at the tactical display. This was impossible. The Federation had superior numbers, superior technology, superior everything. How had 15 small human ships destroyed 32 Federation warships? "Admiral," Tellus said quietly, "the other attack group is reporting similar results. They engaged 20 human ships. They have lost 41 vessels. The humans have lost 12. Zorath felt something he had not felt in 60 years of service. He felt fear. "Pull all ships back to the main formation," he ordered. "Now." As his fleet regrouped, Zorath tried to understand what had happened. The humans had attacked with fewer ships and won. They had faced superior firepower and won. They had done everything wrong by Federation standards, and yet they had won. He pulled up the sensor recordings of the battle and watched them again. The human ships moved in ways that seemed random, but they were not random at all. They anticipated where the Federation weapons would fire and were somewhere else when the beams arrived. They found weaknesses in the Federation shields that Zorath did not even know existed. They worked together in a way that was hard to describe, almost like they were parts of a single organism. "What is this?" Zorath whispered to himself. "What are these humans?" He had read the reports about humanity before this mission. They were a young species, barely spacefaring. Their technology was primitive compared to the Federation. They should have been easy to conquer. But the reports had mentioned something else, something that Zorath had dismissed as unimportant at the time. Humans were warriors. Their entire history was a history of war. They had fought each other constantly for thousands of years. They had developed thousands of different ways to fight, to kill, to win. The Federation had not faced a real enemy in 800 years. They had forgotten what it was like to fight someone who could fight back. The humans had not forgotten. The humans had never stopped learning. "Admiral," Tellus said, "the human fleet is reforming. They are moving toward us." Zorath looked at the tactical display. The scattered human formations were coming together again. 200 ships, forming into a single arrow, pointed directly at his fleet. "They are going to attack," Zorath said. "All 1,200 of us, with 200 ships." "That is suicide, Admiral. They cannot possibly win against such numbers." Zorath watched the human ships approaching. They were not slowing down. They were not changing course. They were coming straight at the heart of the Federation fleet. And for the first time in his long career, Fleet Admiral Zorath Vex was not sure he was going to win. The human attack came like nothing the Federation had ever seen. The 200 ships did not form a traditional battle line. They did not try to match the Federation formation. Instead, they split into groups of 5, each group moving independently toward a different part of the Federation fleet. "They are dividing their forces again," Tellus observed. "They cannot hope to penetrate our formation with such small groups." "Can they not?" Zorath replied. He was no longer confident about anything. "Order all ships to maintain formation. Focus fire on any human ships that come within range." The Federation fleet was arranged in a classic defensive sphere, with the largest ships in the center and smaller vessels around the edges. It was the formation they used against all enemies. It had never failed. The first group of human ships reached the outer edge of the formation. 5 small vessels against 100 Federation warships. The Federation guns opened fire, filling space with deadly energy. The human ships danced. There was no other word for it. They moved in ways that should have been impossible, spinning and rolling and changing direction faster than the eye could follow. The Federation targeting systems, designed to track ships moving in straight lines, could not keep up. One human ship exploded, then another, but 3 got through. And then they did something that Zorath did not expect. They did not attack the nearest Federation ships. They flew past them, deeper into the formation, heading straight for the center where the command ships waited. They are trying to reach us, Zorath realized. They are trying to reach the Eternal Dominion. They will never make it, Admiral. There are too many ships between them and us. But other groups were attacking now, all around the formation. Each group of 5 ships was punching through the outer defenses, taking losses but getting through. And they were all heading for the center. They are not trying to destroy our fleet, Zorath said slowly. They are trying to destroy us, the command ships, the admirals. It was a strategy the Federation had never considered. In Federation warfare, you destroyed the enemy fleet ship by ship, starting with the smallest and working your way up. You did not try to cut off the head of the enemy command structure. That was inefficient. That was wasteful. But it was working. Alarms started sounding throughout the bridge. The Eternal Dominion was being targeted. Human ships were breaking through the formation, converging on the flagship from multiple directions. All ships protect the flagship, Zorath ordered. Form defensive ring around the Eternal Dominion. The Federation fleet tried to respond, but they were too slow. Their ships were built for sustained combat, not quick maneuvers. By the time they moved to protect the flagship, the human ships were already there. The first human projectiles hit the Eternal Dominion's shields. They were tiny compared to Federation weapons, but they came in waves, hundreds of them, thousands of them. They hit the same spots over and over, wearing down the shields through sheer persistence. Shields at 80%, Telos reported. 70%, 60%. Return fire, Zorath shouted. Destroy those ships. The Eternal Dominion's weapons were the most powerful in the fleet. They were designed to destroy space stations and orbital defenses. Against small, fast ships, they were almost useless. The human ships were too close and too quick. The heavy beams missed them entirely. The missiles could not track them. The defensive cannons could hit them, but the human ships took the hits and kept coming. Admiral, a sensor officer shouted, our shields are failing. They have found a resonance frequency that disrupts our shield generators. Zorath felt the deck shake beneath his feet. The Eternal Dominion was taking direct hits now. Somewhere in the ship, something exploded. Damage report. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Engine power reduced by 40%. Weapons offline on the starboard side. The humans were not just attacking. They were systematically disabling his ship. They knew exactly where to hit, exactly what to target. It was like they had studied the Eternal Dominion before the battle even began. Because they had, Zorath realized, they had obtained the ship specifications somehow. They had analyzed every weakness. They had planned this attack in detail. The Federation had underestimated the humans. They had seen primitive technology and assumed primitive thinking. They had not understood that technology and strategy were different things. Another explosion rocked the ship. The lights flickered. The tactical display showed more and more Federation ships being destroyed, not by overwhelming force, but by precise, targeted attacks. Admiral, Telos said quietly, I am receiving surrender requests from several ship commanders. They want to know if we should negotiate with the humans. Surrender. The word was almost foreign to Zorath. The Galactic Federation did not surrender. The Galactic Federation conquered. That was how it had always been. But how it had always been was not working against the humans. "Open a channel to the human fleet," Zorath said. "I wish to speak with their commander." The communication took a moment to establish. Then a face appeared on the main screen. It was a human face, female, with dark skin and gray hair. She wore a simple uniform with no decorations. She looked calm, almost bored. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Navy," she said. "Fleet Admiral Zorath, I presume. You know my name." "I know everything about you, Admiral. Your service record, your tactics, your preferred formations. I have been studying you for 3 years." 3 years. The humans had been planning this battle for 3 years. While the Federation dismissed them as primitive, the humans had been preparing for war. "You cannot win this battle," Zorath said, though he was no longer sure that was true. "You are outnumbered 7-1. Numbers are not everything, Admiral. You are learning that now." "What do you want? Why are you attacking us?" Admiral Chen leaned forward. "The Galactic Federation has conquered 47 species. You have enslaved billions of sentient beings. You have destroyed cultures that existed for millennia. And now you have come to our border, demanding that we submit or be destroyed. That is the way of the galaxy. The strong rule, the weak serve." "That is your way, Admiral. It is not ours." Chen's voice was hard. "Humanity will never submit. Humanity will never serve. We would rather die than live as slaves." "Then you will die." "Perhaps, but we will take you with us." Chen smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Tell me, Admiral, how many ships have you lost today? How many of your officers are dead? And we have only just begun." Zorath looked at the tactical display. He had lost over 200 ships. The humans had lost maybe 50. The ratio should have been the opposite. "You cannot defeat our entire empire," he said. "Even if you win this battle, more fleets will come." "We are counting on it." Chen's smile grew wider. "Every fleet you send, we will study. Every battle you fight, we will learn from. Your technology is better than ours, but our strategy is superior. And strategy wins wars, Admiral, not technology." The Eternal Dominion shook again. More alarms sounded. The ship was dying around him, piece by piece. "I offer you this one chance," Chen said. "Surrender your fleet. Leave this system. Tell your masters what you have seen here today. Tell them that humanity is not prey. Humanity is a predator." Zorath thought about his options. He could fight to the death, as Federation tradition demanded. He could sacrifice every ship and every crew member for the glory of the Empire. Or he could survive. He could report what he had learned. He could help the Federation prepare for a war unlike any they had fought before. "If I surrender," he said slowly, "what guarantees do I have?" "You will be treated as prisoners of war under our conventions. Your crews will not be harmed. When the war is over, you will be returned to your people." "When the war is over, you think you can win a war against the Galactic Federation?" "I think," Chen said, "that you have never fought anyone like us. And I think you are about to learn why humanity is still alive after 200,000 years of fighting ourselves." Zorath looked around his bridge. His officers watched him, waiting for his decision. They were afraid. He could see it in their eyes, in the way they held themselves. They had never been afraid before. The Federation did not teach its officers to be afraid. But the Federation had never faced humans. "Very well," Zorath said. "I surrender my fleet." The words felt like ash in his mouth. But as he gave the order for all ships to cease fire, he knew he had made the right choice. The Federation needed to understand what they were facing. They needed to prepare for a war that would not be won with numbers or technology. They needed to prepare for the humans. The surrender of Fleet Admiral Zorath Vex was the largest in Galactic Federation history. 1,200 ships, more than 50,000 crew members, all captured by a force less than a quarter their size. The news spread across the galaxy in hours. On the Federation capital world of Thuron Prime, the High Council met in emergency session. 12 beings of different species sat around a curved table, their faces showing varying degrees of shock and anger. "This is impossible," said Counselor Drex, a large reptilian whose scales rippled with agitation. "Zoreth is one of our finest admirals. He would not surrender without cause." "The cause is clear," said Counselor Myra, a slender avian whose feathers were puffed in distress. "The humans defeated him, completely and utterly. With 200 ships against 1,400, that defies all logic." "Logic has nothing to do with it." The speaker was Counselor Keyleth, the oldest member of the council. He was a Vorthian, one of the first species the Federation had conquered 3,000 years ago. His skin was wrinkled and gray, his eyes milky with age. "I have seen the recordings of the battle. The humans fight differently than anyone we have ever faced." "How so?" asked Drex. Keyleth touched a control, and a holographic display appeared above the table. It showed the battle from multiple angles, the human ships weaving through the Federation formation like water through stones. "They do not fight to destroy," Keyleth explained. "They fight to disable, to disrupt. They target command ships and communication systems. They create chaos, then exploit it. They adapt to our tactics faster than we can adapt to theirs." "That is strategic," Myra said slowly. "But strategy alone cannot overcome superior numbers and technology." "Can it not?" Keyleth froze the display on a single image. A human ship, tiny compared to the Federation vessels around it, firing a single shot that struck the exact point where two shield segments met. "Look at this. The humans know our ships better than we do. They have studied every weakness, every vulnerability. They do not fight with strength. They fight with knowledge." The council members studied the image in silence. Finally, Drex spoke. "What do? We cannot allow this insult to stand. We must send another fleet to crush these humans." "And lose another fleet?" Keyleth asked. "How many ships are you willing to sacrifice, Counselor? How many crews? The humans have shown they can defeat us at odds of 7 to 1. What odds would you accept?" 50 to 1, 100 to 1. Eventually, numbers must prevail. "Perhaps, or perhaps the humans will simply keep learning, keep adapting, keep winning. That is what they do, Counselor. That is all they have ever done." Keyleth brought up another display. This one showed a planet, blue and green, orbiting a yellow star. "This is Earth, the human homeworld. For 200,000 years, humans have lived on this one small world. In that time, they have fought thousands of wars among themselves. They have developed weapons we cannot imagine for the sole purpose of killing each other. They have nearly destroyed themselves multiple times, only to rebuild and grow stronger." "Savages," Drex muttered. "Yes, but successful savages." Keyleth looked around the table. "The Federation has not fought a major war in 800 years. Our strategies have not changed in 1,000 years. We have grown complacent. We have forgotten how to adapt." "What are you suggesting?" Myra asked. "I am suggesting that we are facing an enemy unlike any we have ever known. An enemy that lives for war, that breathes war, that thinks of war as naturally as we think of breathing." Keyleth turned off the display. "I am suggesting that we need to change everything we know about warfare if we hope to defeat the humans." "That is defeatist talk," Drex said angrily. "The Federation has conquered 47 species. We will conquer the 48th. "The Federation has conquered 47 species that fought the way we expected them to fight," Keyleth replied. "The humans do not, and that is why we may not conquer them." The argument continued for hours, but no consensus was reached. Some council members wanted immediate retaliation. Others wanted negotiation. A few, like Keyleth, wanted to study the humans before taking any action. In the end, the council compromised. They would send another fleet, larger than the first, but they would also send diplomats to negotiate. They would show strength while seeking peace. It was a strategy that had worked many times before. It would not work against the humans. Admiral Sarah Chen received the news of the approaching Federation fleet 3 weeks after the first battle. 2,000 ships this time, led by Admiral Koros, one of the Federation's most decorated commanders. They would arrive in the Outer Rim in 6 days. "Twice as many ships as last time," said Captain James Wu, her second in command. "And Koros is supposed to be smarter than Zorath. This will be harder." "Yes," Chen agreed, "but not impossible." They were aboard the UN Victory, flagship of the human fleet. The ship was small by Federation standards, but it was packed with technology that the Federation did not understand. Human technology, developed through centuries of competition and conflict. "What is our plan?" Wu asked. Chen smiled. "The same plan as before, but better. The Federation will have learned from the first battle. They will expect us to target command ships. They will expect us to use superior maneuverability, so we will do neither." "Then what will we do?" "Something they do not expect, something they cannot predict." Chen pulled up a star chart. "The Federation thinks in terms of fleet battles, ship against ship, fleet against fleet. They do not think about logistics, about supply lines, about infrastructure." Wu's eyes widened. "You want to hit their support systems." "I want to make them understand that war is not just about battles. War is about everything. Food, fuel, communication, morale. The Federation has never had to defend their supply lines. They have never had to worry about their rear areas. We are going to teach them to worry." Over the next 6 days, Chen deployed her forces across the Outer Rim, not as a single fleet but as hundreds of small units, each operating independently. They hit fuel depots and communication relays. They destroyed automated mining stations and cargo ships. They did not fight the Federation fleet. They did not need to. Admiral Koros arrived with his 2,000 ships to find his supply lines in chaos. His communication network was full of gaps. His maps were outdated because human raiders kept destroying the satellites that updated them. "Find them," Koros ordered. "Find every human ship and destroy it." But finding the humans was like finding shadows. They appeared, struck, and vanished before the Federation ships could respond. They used asteroids and moons for cover. They hid in nebulas and gas clouds. They moved constantly, never staying in one place long enough to be pinned down. For 3 weeks, Koros chased ghosts. His fleet grew spread out as he sent ships to protect different areas. His crews grew tired and frustrated. They were trained for battle, not for endless patrols that ended in nothing. And then, when the Federation fleet was scattered across half a dozen systems, the humans attacked. Not the main fleet, not the command ships. They attacked the support ships, the tankers and supply vessels that kept the fleet running. In one coordinated strike, they destroyed or captured 40% of Koros's logistics capacity. "They are trying to starve us," Koros realized. "They are trying to make us run out of fuel and food." He ordered his fleet to consolidate, to reform into a single unit that could protect itself. But consolidation meant leaving systems undefended. As soon as the Federation ships pulled back, the humans moved in. They set up defensive positions on moons and asteroids. They laid mines in shipping lanes. They turned the entire Outer Rim into a trap. "We cannot stay here," Koros admitted to his officers. "We do not have enough supplies to maintain operations. We must fall back to Federation space and resupply." It was a retreat, though no one called it that. 2,000 ships, the second largest fleet in Federation history, turning back without ever fighting a proper battle. Admiral Chen watched them go from the bridge of the Victory. She did not smile. She did not celebrate. She knew this was just the beginning. "They will come back," she said to Wu. "More ships, better commanders. They will learn from this just as we learned from our first battle." "Then what do we do?" We keep learning faster than they do. That is the only advantage we have, Captain. Our technology is inferior. Our numbers are smaller, but our minds are sharper. Our adaptability is greater, and our will to survive is absolute. She looked at the stars, at the vast galaxy that had never known creatures like humans before. The Federation has ruled for 3,000 years, she said. They think that makes them strong, but it has made them slow, it has made them predictable, it has made them soft. And humans? Humans have been fighting for survival since we climbed down from the trees. We have never stopped. We have never slowed down. We have never grown soft. Chen's eyes were hard. The Federation is about to learn what it means to fight a species that was born in war. The war between humanity and the Galactic Federation lasted 12 years. It was not fought in grand battles between massive fleets. It was fought in shadows and surprises, in raids and ambushes, in places the Federation never expected. The humans called it asymmetric warfare. The Federation had no word for it because they had never experienced anything like it. In the third year of the war, human operatives infiltrated the Federation communication network. They did not steal information or cause damage. They simply listened. They learned how the Federation thought, how they planned, how they communicated, and they used that knowledge to stay one step ahead. In the fifth year, human scientists discovered a weakness in Federation shield technology. A specific frequency of energy could pass through Federation shields as if they did not exist. Within months, every human ship was equipped with weapons that used this frequency. The Federation lost hundreds of ships before they understood what was happening. In the seventh year, human diplomats began reaching out to the conquered species of the Federation. They offered freedom. They offered alliance. They offered revenge. Some species refused, too afraid of the Federation to hope for freedom, but others listened, and some of them began to fight. The Keithrani were the first to rebel. They had been conquered 2,000 years ago, but they had never forgotten their freedom. When human ships arrived in their system, they rose up and destroyed the Federation garrison before the humans fired a single shot. Other rebellions followed. The Telvari, the Jorath, the Mekoni. Species that had served the Federation for centuries suddenly remembered that they had once been free, and they wanted to be free again. The Federation found itself fighting on multiple fronts. Their fleets, designed for overwhelming single enemies, could not be everywhere at once. Their supply lines, already strained by human raids, began to collapse entirely. Their economy, built on the labor of conquered species, started to fail as those species stopped working and started fighting. In the 10th year of the war, Fleet Admiral Zorath Vex was released from human captivity. He had been treated well, as Admiral Chen had promised. He had been allowed to communicate with his family. He had been given access to human libraries and databases. He had spent 10 years learning about humanity. When he returned to Federation space, he was a changed being. "We cannot win this war," he told the High Council. "I have studied the humans. I have lived among them. I understand them now in a way I did not understand them when I surrendered my fleet." "You surrendered," Counselor Drex said with contempt. "You have no honor. You have no right to advise us." "I have the right of experience," Zorath replied. "I have fought the humans. I have lost to them. I have spent 10 years trying to understand why. And I tell you now, we cannot win." "Explain," said Counselor Keyleth, who had argued against the war from the beginning. Zorath brought up a display showing the current state of the galaxy. Red markers showed Federation-controlled space. Blue markers showed human territory. Yellow markers showed zones of rebellion and conflict. "Look at the map," Zorath said. 12 years ago, we controlled 80% of the galaxy. Today, we control less than 60%. The humans have not conquered our territory. They have simply made it impossible for us to hold. "We have lost battles," Drex admitted, "but we will win the war." "How our fleets cannot find the humans? Our supply lines are constantly attacked. Our conquered species are rebelling. Our economy is failing. How will we win?" No one answered. "The humans do not fight to conquer," Zorath continued. "They fight to survive, and there is nothing more dangerous in the galaxy than a species fighting for survival. They will not stop. They will not surrender. They will not negotiate from weakness. They will keep fighting until they win or until they are completely destroyed." "Then we will destroy them completely," Drex said. "Can we? We do not know where all their ships are. We do not know where all their bases are. We do not know how many of them there are. They have scattered themselves across the galaxy, hidden among 100 species, built alliances with everyone who hates us." Zorath shook his head. "To destroy the humans, we would have to destroy half the galaxy, and even then some would survive. They always survive." "What do you propose?" Keyleth asked. Zorath looked at the council members, these beings who had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They were old and powerful and proud. They had never considered that they might lose. The idea was foreign to them, impossible to accept. But acceptance was the only path forward. "I propose peace," Zorath said. "Real peace, not the submission we usually demand. I propose we recognize humanity as an equal power. I propose we free the species that wish to be free. I propose we build a new order, one based on cooperation instead of conquest." The council erupted in argument. Some called Zorath a traitor, others called him a coward. A few, the wisest among them, listened and thought about what he said. The debate lasted for months. Meanwhile, the war continued. Human ships struck deeper and deeper into Federation space. More species rebelled. The Federation Navy, once the most powerful force in the galaxy, found itself unable to protect even the core worlds. In the 12th year of the war, a human fleet appeared in orbit around Thuron Prime itself, not to attack, but to deliver a message. Admiral Sarah Chen, now Supreme Commander of the United Earth Forces, appeared on the screens of the High Council chamber. She was older now, her hair fully gray, her face lined with the stress of 12 years of war. But her eyes were still sharp, still burning with the fire that had led humanity from the edge of extinction to the heart of the enemy's territory. "Counselors," she said, "we have fought for 12 years. We have both lost much, but we have gained something too. We have gained respect for each other. We have learned that neither of us can be easily defeated. We have learned that war between us serves no one." "What do you want?" Counselor Keyleth asked. "Peace. Real peace, based on mutual recognition and respect. Humanity does not seek to destroy the Federation. We seek to live alongside it as equals. We seek freedom for the species that wish to be free and partnership with those who wish to partner." "And if we refuse?" Chen smiled, but it was a sad smile. "Then we keep fighting, for another 12 years, for another 50 years, for another 100 years. Humanity will never stop fighting for freedom. That is who we are. That is what we are, but we would prefer to build instead of destroy. We would prefer to create instead of fight." The council debated for 3 more days. In the end, the decision was unanimous. Even Councillor Drex, who had argued for war from the beginning, voted for peace. The Treaty of Thuron Prime was signed on the anniversary of the first battle between humanity and the Federation. It recognized human sovereignty over their territory. It freed 7 species from Federation control. It established trade agreements and diplomatic relations between the two powers. And it contained one clause that Zorath had insisted on, a clause that would change the galaxy forever. The Federation would begin training its officers using human methods, human strategy, human tactics, human thinking, not to replace Federation traditions, but to supplement them, to make the Federation stronger by learning from the species that had defeated them. Fleet Admiral Zorath Vex became the first instructor in the new program. He spent the rest of his long life teaching young Federation officers what he had learned from the humans, not just strategy and tactics, but something more important. He taught them that strength was not just about numbers or technology. Strength was about will. Strength was about adaptability. Strength was about never giving up, never stopping, never accepting defeat. The humans had taught the galaxy a lesson that would never be forgotten, and the galaxy was better for it. 50 years after the Treaty of Thuron Prime, the galaxy had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. The Galactic Federation still existed, but it was not the empire it had once been. The conquered species had become partners, free to leave if they wished, free to govern themselves as they saw fit. Some had left. Most had stayed, choosing to remain part of something larger than themselves. But they stayed by choice, not by force, and that made all the difference. Humanity had grown too, from a single system to 100 systems, from 200 ships to 2,000, from a minor power to a major one, respected and sometimes feared throughout the galaxy. Admiral Sarah Chen had retired from the military long ago. She lived now on a quiet world near the human border, in a small house overlooking a vast green ocean. She was 112 years old, ancient by any standard, but still sharp, still alert, still the woman who had faced down the largest fleet in the galaxy and won. She had visitors often, young officers seeking wisdom, old allies seeking memories, historians seeking truth. She welcomed them all, answered their questions, told her stories. But today's visitor was different. Zoreth Vex had aged badly. His carapace was cracked and faded, his 4 eyes clouded with cataracts, his movements slow and painful. But he had made the journey anyway, traveling halfway across the galaxy to see the woman who had changed his life. They sat on her porch, watching the alien sun set over the alien sea. Neither spoke for a long time. They did not need to. They had said everything that needed to be said decades ago. Finally, Zoreth broke the silence. "I have been thinking about our first battle," he said. His voice was weak but clear. "I have been thinking about the moment I decided to surrender." "What about it?" "I have wondered all these years what would have happened if I had not surrendered, if I had fought to the death, as tradition demanded." Chen nodded. "I have wondered too. Would you have destroyed my entire fleet?" "Yes." She said it without hesitation, without emotion. It was simply the truth. We would have lost more ships. We might have lost the battle, but we would have destroyed you. We would have shown the Federation that surrender was not an option. "Then why did you offer me the chance to surrender? Why did you not simply destroy us and send a message?" Chen thought about the question. She had asked it of herself many times over the years. "Because destruction was never our goal," she said finally. "We did not want to destroy the Federation. We wanted to survive, and surviving meant showing the Federation that there was another way, a better way." "A better way." "You conquered species because you could, because you were stronger. But strength alone does not build lasting civilizations. It builds empires that crumble the moment they show weakness. It builds resentment and rebellion and endless war." She turned to look at him, this old enemy who had become something like a friend over the decades. Humanity learned that lesson long ago. We conquered each other for thousands of years. We built empires and watched them fall. We destroyed ourselves again and again. And we learned, eventually, that the only way to survive was to find something better than conquest. "What did you find?" "Cooperation, partnership, mutual respect. We learned that you could be strong without being cruel. You could win without destroying. You could build something that lasted." Zoreth was silent for a long moment. Then he laughed, a dry, rasping sound. "The Federation thought we were teaching the galaxy about civilization," he said. "We thought we were bringing order to chaos, but we were the ones who needed to learn." "Everyone needs to learn," Chen replied. "That is what makes us alive. The day we stop learning is the day we start dying." The sun had set now, and the stars were coming out. Not the stars of Earth, but still beautiful, still full of wonder and possibility. The historians will write about us, Zoreth said. They will write about the war, about the battles, about the treaty, but they will not understand the truth. What truth? That we were both afraid, both trying to survive in a universe that does not care about survival, both searching for something to believe in. He paused. The difference was that humanity had found it, the Federation had not. And now we are both searching together, and that is better than searching alone. Chen smiled. It was an old smile, worn by decades of use, but still warm, still genuine. That is the lesson humanity taught the galaxy, she said. Not how to fight, not how to win, but how to survive together, how to build something worth building, how to be more than just conquerors and conquered. They sat in silence as the stars wheeled overhead. Two old warriors who had faced each other across the void and found, against all odds, understanding. The humans had entered the galaxy as prey, targeted for conquest by an ancient empire. They had survived through cunning and courage and an absolute refusal to give up. They had won not by destroying their enemy, but by teaching them, by showing them that there was another way. And the galaxy, for all its vastness and strangeness and danger, had become a little bit more like humanity, a little bit more stubborn, a little bit more adaptable, a little bit more alive. Fleet Admiral Zoreth Vex had surrendered to the humans 50 years ago. It was the best decision he had ever made, because in surrendering, he had found something more valuable than victory. He had found hope. The stars shone down on two old beings, enemies turned friends, conqueror and conquered become partners. And somewhere in the galaxy, a new generation was learning the lessons they had taught. Human strategy was superior, but the greatest strategy of all was not about war. It was about peace.